Hello, this video is going to be on Algebra 2 IXL topic D3, Evaluate Functions. The shortcut is PS2. If you want to just type that into the search bar, it'll come right up for you. So when you're evaluating in different subjects, it might mean different things. So if you're evaluating an argument or you're evaluating a perspective, you're giving feedback on that. But in mathematics, when it asks you to evaluate an expression or an equation or a function, it's really just telling you to solve it, okay? So use the following function rule to find f of 54. Remember, when we see these parentheses, we say of, meaning if the function had 54 plugged in for the x, or the input, what would be the output? So here you see f of x equals 2 plus x divided by 18. And here we want to know what is f of 54, or what is f, the function, equal to when you plug in f54 into the input. So let's write out our equation, 2 plus x over 18, or divided by. Now, when we have, sorry, let me write it one more time. 2 plus x divided by 18. Now, when we have this x, we're not writing x, we're writing 54. So we're going to go ahead and replace that with a 54. Now, what's really important when you're doing this is that you remember your order of operations. Are you supposed to add first, or are you supposed to divide first? You're supposed to divide first. Remember, you first do anything in grouping. Some people say parentheses, but G is for grouping because it could be parentheses. It could be brackets. It could be that it's in the denominator or the numerator, and you want to evaluate that first. So grouping, then exponents, then multiplication and division from left to right, whether it's multiplication or the division that comes first. And same with addition and subtraction. Since those are inverse operations, you do them at the same time from left to right. All right, so let's go ahead and do 54 divided by 18. That's equal to 3. So this is really just 2 plus 3, which is 5. So when you input a 54, the output would be 5. Okay. This one's pretty similar to the last one, but let's do this one as well. All right, so you have f of x equals 7 plus 128 divided by x. This time, the variable is in the denominator. So we're dividing by whatever number is here. So we want to input a 4. See how the 4 is taking the place of the x? So similarly here, the 4 takes the place of the x. What is 128 divided by 4? Well, I know 28 divided by 4 is 7, and I know 100 divided by 4 is 25. So that must be equal to 7 plus 5, which is 32. So what this really is 7 plus 32. And if you want to check that, multiply 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 3 is 12, 4 times 32 is 128. That works. So this is really 39. So when you input a 4, you get out a 39. Let's go a little bit further and see if we find any new skills that we need. All right, here we have something slightly different. F of x equals x plus 7 quantity squared. So here we're plugging in 5 for the x. So let's go ahead and input 5 wherever we see an x. So instead of x plus 7, we have 5 plus 7, which is 12. Remember, we're doing the parentheses first, then we're applying the exponent. Parentheses is our G, our grouping tool. So 12 squared is the same as 12 times 12, which is 144. All right, here we have a different idea, the idea of absolute value, right? So let's go ahead and solve this. When we put in an 8 for our x, let's go ahead and write that out, -6. Absolute value of 8 minus 1. Now remember, the absolute value just says evaluate whatever's inside here as how far it is from 0. 8 is 8 units from 0, so it's still just 8. If this was negative 8, it would also become a positive 8 because a negative 8 is 8 steps away from 0. So think of this as just being 8. So negative 6, and when it's next to the 8, that means we're multiplying, minus 1. Well, a negative times a positive is negative 48. Negative 48, and then take away one more, you're going to be even more negative at negative 49. All right, here we have a expression with a radical in it. Let's go ahead and do this one. So as you can see, they're going to give you lots of different types of functions so that they can really see if there is any type of sign that you don't understand how to use. All right, so in this case, we're plugging in a 20 for x. So here this will become a 20. And maybe you can do this in your head, but take a second, pause the video, and see if you can. This is going to be 3 times the square root of 20 plus 80. Sorry, this should be a little lower, make it clear. Well, what is 20 plus 80? That's 100. And what's the square root of 100? Well, the square root of 100, what times itself makes 100? That's just 10. So this is really just 3 times 10. Which is 30. You input a 20, the function evaluated for 20 equals 30. All right, this is pretty similar to our last one. About absolute value. So you have 12 times the absolute value of x plus 4. It's a little different because there's something with the variable in the absolute value. So here we're plugging in 12 for x. Now the absolute value acts as a grouping mechanism, just like parentheses or brackets. So we want to evaluate that first. What's 12 plus 4? Well, that's 16. So we're taking the absolute value of 16. Since that's already a positive number, it just stays positive. So this is really 12 times 16. If it were negative 16, it would also become positive 16. So let's go ahead and do that. 16 times 12. Let's see. 10 times 12 would be 120. And then 6 times 12 would be 72. So this must be 192.